What's going on, everybody? How's everyone doing out there? We're back for another night of just hanging out, chatting, saying what's up. It's just me. Dave may pop in. He's getting punched in the face currently. He's doing his boxing thing tonight, but if we go long enough, he might end up jumping in saying hello. But we're here. Alex Cuesta show doing, trying to do some more daily stuff, trying to engage. What the hell is this up here? Jesus. Trying to engage with you guys a little bit more and, talk to the people, say what's up, talk about some topics, some things that I want to talk about, maybe some stuff from the day, and just have a good time doing it. Okay, damn it. So first things first, wherever you're watching, what's going on, if you're watching on X, YouTube, Facebook, really important, go give us a like, follow, subscribe wherever you are. If you're on, X, obviously, repost this and let people know that we're here, give it a like, all that stuff. Over on YouTube, it's always important to throw a like in there, leave some comments. And the biggest thing is spread the word. We got this live stream, freaking weirdo that comes on and talks about things all the time, but we're here. We're having a good time. Well, I'm here. And of course, as always, Nate's here. Nate, what's going on, brother? We're just hanging out over here. Like I said, Dave may not be here for a little bit, but we're going to get it popping. We're going to have a good time. Don't know how long I'm going to go for, but I mean, that's going to be the story for all of these. I'm going to just kind of talk until I'm done talking. And if I am distracted tonight, because I'm watching the Rutgers-Washington game as well, it's going to be over here on my phone. I am a Jersey boy, so if Rutgers is on, I will have them on, and they're actually beating Washington right now, 14-3. So that's pretty exciting that they're playing actual Big Ten football and not sucking. So just do my phone. But yeah, so I might get distracted. I might yell. I might get excited. But overall, let's jump into the fun stuff. Let's have a good time. Oh, before I do that, I want to give a shout out to my alma mater, Manchester Township, the Hawks. They went 4-1, won a massive game against Barnegat today, taking sole possession of the division, which is huge. Coach Tommy Farrell having a ton of success. He's been on the show before, and just want to give them a shout out. Aiden Lund playing monstrous football over there as a quarterback, battling through an ankle injury that he suffered. They could very well be 5-0. He sat out a game with his injury. They could very well be 5-0. And that's super exciting for Manchester. They're fast tracking. They're doing really well. They have a tougher schedule. So New Jersey goes with PowerPoints for how they get people into the playoffs. Even though Manchester had a great year last year, they didn't have the PowerPoints to get in. This year, they keep playing the way they're playing. They keep winning the games. They should have enough PowerPoints to get in, win their division, really make a dent in the playoffs and have some fun. So shout out to Manchester over there. So with that out of the way, let's get started. We have some things to talk about. First thing I want to jump in on is right now the UN General Assembly is going on, and Joe Biden went over there and was an idiot, as always. No one's surprised about that. We talked yesterday about Trump doing the announcement, doing at the rally, saying that the Iranian leader was over there and how bizarre it was. But there was some good news because Javier Milei, General ANCAP, is an absolute monster. He delivered a speech on the 24th. It was his first ever speech at the General Assembly. And I mean, let me just tell you, it is one of the best speeches I have heard in a very, very, very long time. I do want to throw it up on screen here. I may end up reading it because it is that good of a speech. And I feel like us as Americans, we should do a better job of talking about freedom and talking about things like this as Milei is. So, boom, let's get this up here. Let's full screen this. And you know what? Screw it. Let's read it. Let's have some fun here. Let's see. Can we get it full? Because I don't want it to be, is that the full? No, I don't want to be there. Boom, boom. What am I doing here? Okay. All right. So let's read this because, like I said, it is really freaking good. So, boom. All right. So, to the authorities of the United Nations, representatives of various countries that make up the United Nations, and to all citizens of the world who are watching us, good afternoon, all citizens of the world who are watching us. Oh, that's a repeat there. For those who do not know, I am not a politician. I am an economist and a libertarian liberal economist who has never had the ambition to be a politician. I'm an economist, a liberal libertarian economist who has never had the ambition of being a politician and who was honored with the position of president of the Argentine Republic in the face of resounding failure of more than a century of collectivist policies that has destroyed our country. This does not look like a great transcript, but I'm going to keep going with it. Okay, let's go. This is my first speech in front of the United Nations General Assembly, and I would like to take this opportunity to, with humility, alert the various nations of the world the path they have been treading for decades and the danger of this organization's failure to fulfill its original mission. So Milei is going right at the UN, and it's a thing of beauty, and you'll hear some things. He's going to talk more American than most Americans. So, I mean, it would be fantastic if we got more Americans to speak this way. But I'm going to continue here. I do not come here to tell the world what to do. I come here to tell the world, on the one hand, what will happen if the United Nations continues to promote collectivist policies, which they have been promoting under the mandate of the 2030 Agenda? And on the other hand, what are the values that the new Argentina defends? I do want to begin by giving credit where credit is due. The United Nations organization was born out of the horror of the bloodiest war in global history with the main objective that it should never happen again. And to that end, the organization sets its fundamental principles in stone in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. A basic agreement was set down there based on a maxim that all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. So he's laying it out there, what they stand for and all that good stuff. So that's pretty basic stuff right there. Let's keep it moving. Under the tutelage of this organization and the adoption of these ideas during the last 70 years, humanity experienced the longest period of global peace in history, which also coincided with the period of the greatest economic growth in history. An international forum was created where nations could settle their conflicts through cooperation instead of resorting instantly to arms. And something unthinkable was achieved. The 5 largest powers in the world were permanently seated at the same table, each with the same veto power, despite having totally opposing interests. All this did not make the scourge of war disappear, but it was achieved for the time being that no conflict escalated to global proportions. The result was that we went from having 2 world wars in less than 40 years, which together claimed more than 120 million lives, to having 70 consecutive years of relative peace and global stability under the mantle of an order that allowed the whole world to integrate commercially, compete, and prosper. But where is that? Where there is trade, there is no bullets. Bastiat used to say, because trade guarantees peace, freedom guarantees trade, and equality before the law guarantees freedom. In short, what the prophet Isaiah wrote and what is read in the park, crossing the street, was fulfilled. God will judge between the nations and will arbitrate for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning shears. Nation shall not take sword against nation. They shall not know war. They shall know war no more. So there he is. He's quoting scripture. He's talking about basically the fact that the UN has helped keep the peace. I argue that it's been the power of the United States and the threat of the United States keeping the peace, but I digress there. This is what happened mostly under the aegis of the United Nations in its first decades. And therefore, from this perspective, we are talking about a remarkable success in the history of nations that cannot be overlooked. However, at some point, and as it usually happens with the most of the bureaucratic structures that we men create, this organization ceased to watch over the principles outlined in its founding declaration and began to mutate. An organization that has been intended, essentially, as a shield to protect the kingdom of man was transformed into a multi-tentacle Leviathan, which seeks to decide not only what each nation state should do, but also how all the citizens of the world should live. This is how we went from an organization that pursued peace to an organization that imposes an ideological agenda on its members in a myriad of issues, which make the life of man in society. So again, Milei is basically saying that they've lost their way. I argue that they've always been terrible, but I guess Milei is trying to be a little bit nice. The successful model of the United Nations, whose origins can be traced back to the ideas of President Wilson, who spoke of the Society of Peace Without Victory, and which was based on the cooperation of nation states, has been abandoned. It has been replaced by a model of supranational government, of international bureaucrats who seek to impose a certain way of life on the citizens of the world. What is being discussed this week here in New York at the Summit of the Future is nothing other than a deepening of the tragic course that this institution has adopted. Thus, the deepening of a model that, in the words of Secretary of the United Nations himself, requires a definition of a new social contract on a global scale, redoubling the commitments of the 2030 Agenda. I want to be clear on a position of the Argentinian agenda. The 2030 Agenda, although well-intentioned in its goals, is nothing more than a supranational government program, socialist in nature, which seeks to solve the problems of modernity with solutions that violate the sovereignty of nation states and violate people's rights to life, liberty, and property. It is an agenda that pretends to solve poverty inequality, and discrimination with legislation that only deepens them. Because world history shows that the only way to guarantee prosperity is by limiting the power of the monarch, guaranteeing equality before the law, and defending the right of life, liberty, and property of the individuals. So this is Javier Milei basically making the American argument in the UN General Assembly. Now, he's not gaining any fans because these people over there are Marxist, they are socialist. And if you've been following James Lindsay on New Discourses at all, you'll know all this because that's exactly who they are. Maybe I'll pop my head over here. Oh, hey, there I am. So let's keep going over here because this speech is freaking amazing. It has been precisely the adoption of this agenda which obeys privileged interests, the abandonment of principles outlined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of the United Nations that has distorted the role of this institution and put it on the wrong path. Thus, we have seen how an organization born to defend the rights of man has been one of main proponents of the systematic violation of freedom. As, for example, with the global quarantines during the year 2020, which should be considered a crime against humanity. In the same house that claims to defend human rights, they have allowed bloody dictatorships such as Cuba and Venezuela to join the Human Rights Council with the slightest reproach. In the same house that claims to defend women's rights, they allow countries that punish their women for showing their skin to join a committee of elimination of discrimination against women. In the same house, systematically, they have voted against the state of Israel, which is the only country in the Middle East that defends liberal democracy, while simultaneously demonstrating a total inability to respond to the scourge of terrorism. In the economic sphere, collectivist policies have been promoted that threaten economic growth, violate property rights, and hinder the natural economic process, preventing the most underprivileged countries in the world from freely enjoying their own resources in order to move forward. Regulations and prohibitions promoted precisely by the countries that developed thanks to doing the same thing that they're condemned today. Moreover, a toxic relationship has been promoted between global governance policies and international lending agencies, requiring most neglected countries to commit resources they do not have to programs they do not need, turning them into perpetual debtors to promote the agenda of the global elites. So honestly, he tore him to shreds there, saying that they're hypocritical in every which way and that their policies of collectivism are basically doing what collectivists and communists try to do to the people. They try to turn the people of the lowest economic strata into dependents for the rest of their existence. And basically Milei is saying that's exactly what the UN is doing to poorer countries. And it's true. It's all true. Let's continue. Nor has the tutelage of the World Economic Forum helped, where ridiculous policies are promoted with Malthusian blinders on, such as zero-emission policies, which harm poor countries in particular, to policies linked to sexual and reproductive rights, where the birth rate in Western countries is plummeting, heralding a bleak future for all. Nor has the organization satisfactorily fulfilled its mission of defending the territorial sovereignty of its members, as we Argentines know firsthand in relationship with the Malvinas Islands. And we have even reached a situation in which a Security Council, which is the most important organ of the House, has been distorted because the veto of its permanent members has begun to be used in defense of a particular interest of some. Thus, we are today an organization that is powerless to provide solutions to real global conflicts, such as the aberrant Russian invasion of Ukraine, which has already cost the lives of more than 300,000 people, leaving a trail of more than 1 million wounded in the process. An organization that, instead of confronting these conflicts, invests time and effort in imposing on poor countries how and what they should produce, and whom they should associate, what they should eat, and what they should believe in, as the present Pact for the Future intends to dictate. This long list of errors and contradictions has not been gratuitous, but it has resulted in the loss of credibility of the United Nations in the eyes of citizens of the free world and the denaturalization of its functions. Therefore, I would like to issue a warning. We are at the end of a cycle, collectivism and moral posturing, of the woke agenda, having collided with reality and no longer have credible solutions to offer the world's real problems. In fact, they never had them. If the 2030 agenda failed, as its own promoters acknowledge, the answer should be to ask ourselves if it was not an ill-conceived program to begin with. Accept that reality and change course. We cannot pretend to persist in the mistake by redoubling the bet on an agenda that has failed. The same thing always happens with ideas coming from the left. They design a model according to what human beings should be, according to them. And when individuals freely act otherwise, they have no better solution than to restrict, repress, and restrict their freedom. Man, this is so beautifully said, honestly. Where the hell are American leaders making speeches like this? I have not found one. Maybe Trump has said some things like this. He never spoke like this at the UN. He said things. He called them the fuck out, but not like this. This is fantastic. Let's keep going. We in Argentina have already seen with our own eyes what lies at the end of this road of envy and sad passions: poverty, brutalization, anarchy, and a fatal absence of freedom. We still have time to turn away from this course. I want to be clear about something so that there are no misinterpretations. Argentina, which is undergoing a profound process of change, has decided to embrace the ideas of freedom. Those ideas that say all citizens are born free and equal before the law, and we have inalienable rights guaranteed by the Creator, among which are the right of life, liberty, and property. Those principles which guide the process of change that we are carrying out in Argentina are also principles that will guide our international conduct from now on. We believe in the defense of life for all. We believe in the defense of property for all. We believe in freedom of speech for all. We believe in freedom of worship for all. We believe in freedom of commerce for all. And we believe in limited governments, all of them. And because in these times, what happens in one country quickly impacts others, we believe that all people should live free from tyranny and oppression, whether it takes the form of political oppression, economic slavery, or religious fanaticism. The fundamental idea must not remain mere words. It must be supported in deeds, diplomatically, economically, and materially, through the combined strength of all countries which stand for freedom. This doctrine of the new Argentina is no more and no less than a true essence of the United Nations organization. That is, the cooperation of the United Nations in defense of freedom. If the United Nations decides to retake the principles that gave it life and to adapt again the role of which it was conceived, you can count on the unwavering support of Argentina in the struggle for freedom. You should also know that Argentina will not support any policy that implies the restriction of individual freedoms of trade or the violation of natural rights of individuals, no matter who promotes it or how much consensus that institution has. For this reason, we wish to express officially our dissent to the Pact of the Future, signed on Sunday, and we invite all the nations of the free world to join us, not only in dissenting from this pact, but also in the creation of a new agenda for this noble institution, an agenda for freedom. From this day on, know that the Argentine Republic will abandon the position of historical neutrality that characterized us and will be at the forefront of the struggle in defense of freedom. Because, as Thomas Paine said, those who wish to reap the blessings of freedom must, as men, endure the fatigue of defending it. May God bless the Argentines and all the citizens of the world, and may the forces of heaven be with us. Long live freedom. Thank you very much. Man, if you aren't a fan of that speech, if you cannot hear that speech and be absolutely pumped up as an American, I don't know what gets you going. I really don't. I can't tell you what gets you going. Because if you understand the history of this nation, if you understand our American ideals, if you understand what we should be standing for, what we should be fighting for, that's exactly it. It should not have to be Argentina up there at the United Nations making this speech. I'm happy Javier Milei did it. But it should be Joe Biden up there. It should be, if God, for some damn reason, Kamala Harris wins, it should be Kamala. It should be Trump. It should be any leaders up there. And it should be our UN representative. Every single time something goes wrong there or awry or isn't the way we have it in America, they should be the ones standing up making big speeches like that. You just heard so many things from our own Constitution, our own Declaration of Independence being used in that speech. And the fact that this has caused Argentina to change from neutral to basically saying, hey, we are going to fight for freedom is radical. Now, is Milei going to stay there? Who knows? A lot of these South American countries are corrupt. They battle with socialism and communism consistently. But if the people can keep Javier Milei there and allow him to continue to do the things that he wants to do in that country, and if all he's saying right here is not just rhetoric, if he really turns that country around, they should be one of our strongest allies. Because one of my new things that I'm starting to believe is that we should be really trying to, work with our countries down south. There's no reason why the United States shouldn't be a leader in the Western Hemisphere, but not just economically and not just for people to come to us. But we should be working and not nation building. I don't want a nation build. I don't want to sit there and go and take out leaders and put new ones in. But I want to encourage these other countries to start to embrace more capitalistic ideas, more free market ideas, more liberty ideas, more, ideas of a republic, of a democracy, of whatever it is. Not force it, because it never works when you force it. It always, you put your own puppet in. People fucking hate them, and it never works. You have to make the people want it, and the people of Argentina absolutely want this. You could see it. They voted in Milei, and that's a huge step. Argentina is a major country there, so maybe we can get more. Maybe we can get more. Maybe we can have more better leaders. So that excited me there. That 100% excited me there. Seeing Milei speak that way, it was fantastic. So we're going to jump in to our next thing. What do I want to talk about here? Oh, I want to bring up something I always bring up. We got to talk about the Epstein client list. We still don't have it. We still don't have an Epstein client list, and that's disturbing. I don't bring it up as often as I should. I didn't bring it up last episode with Stutter and Craig, and I didn't bring it up last night. But I'm going to continue to try to bring it up here. We need to demand that we have the Epstein client list. It is ridiculous that we do not have it yet. And now we're not going to see this Diddy list probably either. This, whoever's been invited to the parties. But these are the type of things we need to keep going. We need to continue to battle. We need to continue to fight to get these lists out there. And it needs to start with small places like me. And it needs to sit there and grow with the bigger shows. We need to not let this lie. We need to make it such a big thing that people in everyday life start to still question it. It's a joke right now. It's a joke. Oh, the Epstein client list, does it exist? Yep. Oh, we need to find it. We still don't see it. It's an absolute joke. We need to make it so that it's an uncomfortable thing that we don't have a list of child rapists. And that's what it comes down to. We don't have a list of powerful people that sexually assaulted and raped young girls. And that's just a layman terms. We need to get this list. We need to get the Epstein client list. We need to get the Diddy list, whatever that list is. Whoever went to his Love Island, he had an island, just like Epstein did. Whoever went there, we need to know. We need to demand that we know, because this is important. I have 2 little girls. I'll be damned if I don't fight so that other little girls like them do not get violated, and that type of shit doesn't happen anymore. So that's my little aside with the Epstein client list. I will, I'm not going to make a big deal about it all the time. If more developments happen, we'll talk about it. But overall, the Epstein client list is something that is absolutely important, and it's something that we need to keep going with. So we're going to talk about Diddy real quick, because Diddy's lawyer is fucking hilarious. I'm not going to lie. This guy's amazing. So his lawyer was asked about the freak offs, and his lawyer, I guess, was asked about, after he was in jail, was asked about the freak offs and was asked about the baby oil. And I want to play for you his response because I found it over here. Let's see. Which one is it? Hold on. I want to get the right one. I don't want to screw up here. Where is it? It's this one. Okay. Our boy Dom Lucre, he doesn't know who I am, but Dom Lucre is awesome. Dom Lucre, I don't know how to say his name. Lucre, someone correct me. But Dom has it up here. Let's make sure that we get this sharing. Sharing is caring. Boom. And then we're going to full screen that because we want to hear what this character is saying. So let's hear it.
I've been with him since 8 o'clock this morning, and it's about almost 3 o'clock now. He's just laser focused. He's engaged. He's helpful. He's confident. We're going through our defense as we do every day, and his spirits are relatively good.
How do you explain the baby oil and the lubricants? 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
I don't think it was 1,000. I think it was a lot. I mean, there's a Costco right down the street. I think Americans buy in bulk, as we know. This is consensual adults doing what consensual adults do. We can't get so puritanical in this country to think that somehow sex is a bad thing, because if it was, there'd be no more people.
I have never in my life heard of the Costco defense, but that's what this is officially going to have to be, the Costco defense. So anyone in the chat, anyone that's watching, do you believe that you have And let me see if I can find the picture, because the picture is pretty outrageous too, of just how much lube was there. So Diddy baby oil picture, because I think I saw the picture a little while ago. Let's see. Yeah, here's a picture of it. Let me get this. No, what are you doing? Boom, open a new tab. So, okay, this might be a little bit small, but that's okay. I just want people to get a look at how much fucking baby oil was here. It was an outrageous number of baby oil. So let's share this. Boom. Look at all that baby oil. Why? Why does Diddy have all this baby oil? I'll tell you why. She's raping people. That's why. There's no other explanation. There's no other explanation to have stacks of baby oil all over here. And could you imagine being the police officers there? Could you imagine being the police officer walking in? Number one, there's all these clothes on the floor. I don't know if they threw them there, but this is an incredible amount of baby oil. No sane human being has this much fucking baby oil. There's no excuse. And to say that you go to, there's a Costco up the road, we know Americans buy in bulk, might be one of the funniest things the Costco defense is amazing. So I'm curious, anyone in the chat, are you guys buying the Costco defense? Is the Costco defense a legitimate defense to why Diddy has so much baby oil? I don't know. Maybe it's a good defense for you guys, but the baby oil defense, the Costco defense is not flying with me. So that's our Diddy chat of the day. So again, we need to get that island. We need to find out who was there at that island, and also the Costco defense. We're going to see how the Costco defense works. I hope they bring it up in court. I hope once it comes in court, I hope that is something that the defense attorney there thinks is so ironclad that he has Diddy say on the stand that, I have a Costco up the road. I just went there. We needed some baby oil. I want to make sure I had it. I use it. I put it on and this and that. And sure, it's for intercourse. And, we don't, blah, blah. I want that. I want the Costco defense to be put in there. And I want it to go down in history and to go down in infamy as the greatest defense of all time, because it really might be the greatest defense ever. All right. So let's slip away. Yeah, get it? Slip away from Diddy, and let's slip into another target here, another slippery fellow, George Soros. George Soros, for people that don't know, he is the boogeyman for all. He's the boogeyman. He's the one that people are, I guess, scared of in a lot of ways, because he has a ton of money and he throws his money around. Unlike, Republicans don't throw their money around the same way that Soros does, but he throws the money around. Yes, Nate, short baby oil stocks. That actually might be a good idea. Johnson & Johnson, got to short that. But George Soros throws his money around towards causes, and this time it might be one of the bigger ones that he did. Now, he famously toppled the pound sterling in England, and he brags about it. And he, in his books, he talks about how he's toppled the pound sterling, and that's his crowning achievement, toppling a currency. And I think a second crowning achievement was getting Joe Biden elected. He's very anti-Trump, and he did something that I think is going to be one of his other crowning achievements. He was able to fast track and get the purchasing of the second biggest radio station, radio company in the country. So right here in this story from Fox News here, we see here the House Oversight is now probing it. The FCC's expedited approval of Soros's purchase of 200 plus radio stations. I think the name of the place he purchased, it's Odyssey. And it's crazy because normally there's like a process, like a 6-month process for them to wait. And especially when there is more than 25%, I believe, of foreign money going into it, they need to look at it. Now, the way the commission is lined up right now with the FCC, there are 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and the 3 Democrats pushed it through. And from what I'm hearing, since Odyssey is basically filing for bankruptcy, this is going to go through basically right away. that Soros is going to be able to gain control basically right away of these radio stations. And what the issue is here is the radio stations, it's not like he just bought a bunch of rock stations. Some of these radio stations have conservative talk show hosts on it. If you like Glenn Beck, if you like Dana Lash, if you like Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, individuals like that, there's a lot of those individuals on these radio stations. And if you think for a minute that George Soros is going to continue to allow the voices like a Glenn Beck, like a Sean Hannity, like a Mark Levin, a Dana Lash, that he's going to allow them to continue to exist on his stations, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. He's going to be shutting down millions of people when he gets this. Now, there's looking at it, and hopefully there's something that can be done. But, I mean, it's crazy. He's going to be able to sway the opinions of, right here it says, more than 165 million Americans. He's going to be able to have the control of information of basically that many people. That's huge for an election year. That is huge. And it's just something that, they're looking in, and this is another Trump slip up. If you want to knock Trump for something, Trump rubber stamped Jessica Rosenworcel. Obama put in his person, and then Jessica took over, and Trump allowed her to stay instead of replacing these people with people that are friendly to him. This is something that if Trump gets in, he's going to have to do better. He is going to have to make sure that he puts people in positions that are friendly to at least his ideals. I'm not saying he needs to get people that march lock and step with him, but people that are at least conservative in their thinking in a lot of ways and are willing to do the right thing, not the wrong thing. Because this right here is wrong. This is political at its core. It's political. Why would they fast track this as the Democrats in the FCC did instead of it going through the typical process? Let me see here. What is the typical process? Boom, boom, boom. This would be Comer and Langworthy, who are two members of Congress, said the Odyssey deal would lead to a company being partially directly or indirectly controlled by foreign individuals or entities holding more than 1/4 of capital stock. And the deal would require FCC approval to determine whether public interest will be served by the refusal or revocation of such a license. And carrying out the statutory mandate under the Communications Act, FCC has years-long established processes and procedures for adjudicating broadcast licenses in such situations, most recently updated 2016. So typically, bottom line, this takes longer. This takes much longer to go through. And the fact that they're playing politics right now, and we know that they're doing it. We know that they're doing it. And this is also the frustration of a lot of conservatives. When Democrats have power, they play politics and they win. This is what they do. If you think Trump was there and it was a 3-2 Trump group and Elon Musk wanted to buy it, they would fast track it for Musk? No. The Republicans in power would go, no, we have rules. Sorry, Elon. You're going to have to wait till after the election to finish your purchase. But because the leftists play the game to win, they don't play the game fair. The only thing fair is victory. They see the ends justifying the means. They always have. That is leftist philosophy. So for them, this is the right thing to do. They did the right thing by pushing this through and allowing George Soros to take control. Now, I don't know what could be done. I don't know how to stop something like this. But it's wrong. It's wrong in every which way. And, we can complain all we want here. But, it happened. The FCC is pushing it through. So we'll see what goes on. We'll see if it can be fought back. We'll see if Congress does anything, because Congress is usually pretty useless for the most part. But, yeah, I believe it's over 25% foreign money, and it has to go under like a harder review. And apparently Soros has a lot of foreign investment in order to buy this. So, there's things in place to make sure that we don't have foreign actors having that big of an influence. But again, we allow China to buy our property. We consistently allow these types of things to go on. So it is what it is, right? You can fight back so much. We can complain about it here. We can ring the bells, but ultimately the powers that be have to want to do something. And, it's great. Comer and Langworthy are talking about it. They're bringing it up. But what is really happening? Are they going to actually do something? Or are we just going to see, voices like Glenn Beck, like Sean Hannity, like Dana Lash, like Mark Levin go away from many major markets? And now, thank God Glenn has the Blaze, because you can at least still go hear him on the Blaze, and a lot of other markets, definitely, because it's not like Source's power or all the radio stations, but you can go and support him on the Blaze. And I recommend that. I recommend that the Blaze is a place to go. And you know what, Nate? Radio, not yet. There's still a lot of boomers that listen to radio and a lot of boomers' kids. I know WABC over here in New York is massive. It's massive. They have Glenn Beck. They have Mark Levin. They have Sean Hannity right after. And I think they even have Clay and Buck Sexton and Clay Travis on. And so you get a lot of people in these areas that do listen to conservative talk radio. And that's the big deal, Nate. It's not necessarily for like the rock music and things like that, or it's the fact that Soros is going to be able to take conservative talk radio out of the picture in a lot of places. And that's huge, because I think it's so understated, and we don't bring this man's name up enough. But what Rush Limbaugh was able to do for conservative talk radio in order to take a whole entire frequency and basically own it. Because at that point, you had the news people pretending not to be leftist. We knew they were leftist, but pretending not to be. And at that point, you had CNN, and CNN was trying to be straight and narrow, but they were very much in the left pocket and things like that. And the only person calling this stuff out at the time in a big way was Rush. I mean, you had Pat Buchanan and things like that, but Rush was the big one doing all of these call outs. And he was so important for what talk radio became. And now you look at it, and it is massive. Talk radio is massive still. There are still a lot of people that do listen to talk radio, a lot of people that rely on talk radio being on, because it's free too. Let's also remember that talk radio is free. Radio is still free. FM and AM frequency are still free, and that's massive. Where you have to pay for XM, you'd have to pay if you want to go on the Blaze. A lot of these other places, you'd have to pay. Radio is still free, and a lot of people still use it a lot. So this is a big deal. There's a lot of communication that could be lost here. Okay, so what do we want to jump onto? Let's talk about communication here. We're going to jump into something with Trump here, because John Solomon, Just the News, we'll pull this up here. This is a story from the 23rd, so a few days ago. But John Solomon at Just the News, he does a great job over there. And he brought up on this article here, boom, boom, boom. If I can get it going, maybe I'm so good at this thing. Boom. There were transcripts released that Just the News got their hands over that prove that Donald Trump asked for National Guardsmen or soldiers to be there on January 6th, but he was ignored. Let's scroll down here, because there's some really important things here. So this one, General Mark Milley, who hates Trump. General Mark Milley does not like Trump. We know this. He left. He's talked a bunch of shit about Trump since he left. And one of the quotes is here from the transcript. And if you want, there's transcripts here, and Justin News does a great job of providing us with the transcripts, and because John Solomon's a true professional. And Mark Milley's quote, "The president just says, hey, look at this. It's going to be a large amount of protesters come in here on the 6th. Just make sure that you have sufficient National Guard and soldiers to make sure it is a safe event." Milley told the Inspector General in one of two interviews he did in the spring of 2021 during a probe of the Pentagon's response to J6. So here, the real question is, where the fuck was this during the J6 committee? You didn't hear about this quote. You didn't hear about this quote of Trump literally saying, like, hey, it looks like there's a lot of people. Looks like there's a lot of people coming. Let's jump on in and let's get these people. Let's make sure that it's safe. You didn't hear this in the J6 committee. You didn't hear any of this, and that's just one thing there. And Milley said the acting defense secretary Christopher Miller assured Trump that there was an adequate safety plan. Miller responds by saying, "Hey, we got a plan and we've got it covered, and that's about it." So right there, he's being told that Trump's being told, hey, we got this. I'm not giving Trump an excuse for how long it took. He did say be peaceful and things like that. And I was never happy about how long it took him to stop it, to say out and say something. But if he was being assured by his people, hey, listen, we got this. We got a plan. And then shit starts to go down on J6. And he's waiting. And he's probably waiting. He's probably looking and going, all right, they said they got this. They said they got a plan. They're going to get under control. They're going to get under control. And he's waiting. And he's waiting. And he's waiting. And then finally people are calling him and he's going, they're not doing anything. What's going on here? And that's when he comes out and he writes the tweet and he's like, hey, everyone go the fuck home peacefully. It's after reading some of the stuff here, it is very plausible to think that one of the main reasons why Donald Trump didn't act quickly in terms of like, hey, everyone knock it off type of stuff was because he thought that things were under control. So I don't know. Let's keep going because there's some other interesting quotes here. Milei confirmed in a second-time interview that he wishes it was just what I described, which was, hey, I don't care if you use the guard or soldiers, active duty soldiers, do whatever you have to do, just make sure it's safe. So again, that's him in a second interview repeating to say it's safe. So there's other stuff. Right here, Miller, who we talked about. Let's go back up here. What the fuck's his name? Acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller. In another transcript, again, which Just the News provides, there was absolutely no way I was putting U.S. military forces in the Capitol, period. Miller told the Inspector General during his March 2021 interview. So after he told Trump, we got this, we got a plan, we're going to keep it safe, he tells the Inspector General he was never going to put boots on the ground. He was not going to do that. And this was his plan. He described it. The operational plan was this. Let's take the DC National Guard, keep them away from the Capitol. Let's put the request. It wasn't my request. Bowser and her Metropolitan Police Department were like, let's put DC National Guard on traffic control points at the metro stations and free up credentialed law enforcement officers that can go and arrest people. Basically, we're going to make the National Guard there and make them fucking useless. Let's put them as far away as we can. And then John Solomon writes here, Miller admitted there was a political calculus to his decision not to deploy troops near the Capitol ahead of the preventative security. And this is another quote that Miller said, I hate to use the word optics because it's used and it's so prejudicially and negatively. But it wasn't the optics. It was like there would have been a huge political consequences that because that's what I got paid to do is I had to factor in the politics of this. And that was my concern is the situation does not warrant at this time U.S. military forces. So that's Christopher Miller admitting he's playing politics there, that he did not want to make it look bad during J6, during that transfer of power to have boots on the ground. All this is saying is that J6 was very preventable and that these people wanted it. These people fucking wanted it. Like, it's crazy. These people wanted it. Next part. Pentagon refused to assist D.C. police. Former D.C. District of Columbia Metropolitan Police Chief, I can English, Robert Conti confirmed in his interview that Pentagon officials, specifically Army Secretary Ryan McCarthy, resisted his department's initial request on New Year's Eve for troops in advance for J6. So this is what Conti said. I received a call directly from the Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy, and at that point, he had reviewed our request for the support of DC National Guard. And what he relayed to me in this phone call was not what I initially thought we would have been saying. He did not initially say, yes, you got the National Guard responding, and they're going to handle this traffic and crowd management that you asked for, and they're going to be responding to handle it. That was not what he stated. What he stated to me was he was not inclined to fulfill the request of the guardsmen simply because the optics of it was bad. He said that he did not want to have boots on the ground he didn't want to have boots on the ground anywhere near the Capitol is what was stated. Again, playing politics. That's all this is. I know. Washington touchdown. Rutgers defense isn't looking good. They need to get a score. But what's going on right here and what we're hearing is that they are absolutely playing politics. And this is the military. The military is supposed to, still at this point, they still work for Donald Trump. He is still the president of the United States. He is giving direct orders. And you have people in the military, people in the defense area, the defensive cabinet secretaries, basically saying no. We're not going to listen to what Trump is saying, what Trump is telling us to do. This is, insubordinate. At minimum, insubordination. I don't want to go as far as treasonous. What they did with Syria was treasonous. But at minimum, this is insubordination, which is insane. Which is insane to think. Now, they do not like Donald Trump. They hate him. They hate his guts. They've made this very obvious. But this right here is even crazier. That now we have it in writing that they are ignoring everything that he said. Trump saw the writing on the wall. There was a lot of people. He was going to give a speech. There was going to be fiery stuff. He saw the writing on the wall that this could get out of hand. And he told them, hey, do what we got to do. Let's make sure that this is safe. Proving that he did not want anything done J6 to happen. They say like, oh, he's an insurrectionist. Obviously he didn't. This proves it. Now it's on just the news. So people are going to ignore this, right? The mainstream, this is from the 23rd. Has anyone heard anything about this? The mainstream news hasn't said shit about this, right? Of course not. They're not going to call this. So they're not going to say anything about this. So, I mean, it's crazy. There's more over here. The fact that, the big thing is the optics are bad. That's what they hear. The optics. So that's that right there. And if anyone has any thoughts on what they heard right here, definitely leave us a comment on X. It'll show up here. I'll see it. Or on YouTube about, the optics of it, because J6 did suck, right? I'm done apologizing for it because people are fucking assholes about it, right? I'm not apologizing for J6 anymore. But J6 was a shitty time. I'll admit it. When I was watching it on TV, I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Why are people climbing through windows? Why are they attacking cops? Why are they... Nate, like you said, worst insurrection with 0 insurrection charges. Agree, it's not an insurrection. But it was a riot. It got out of hand. It was something that shouldn't have happened. Now, so many things came up where there are agitators in the crowd, where there are, FBI in the crowd, where there are informants, where there are things like that. I mean, if there weren't, then when the FBI was asked, they wouldn't have said, we cannot reveal anything. So there were definitely intelligence agents in the crowd, I guess. Now, that's normal, I'd imagine. Something like that going on, a crowd that size, they know there's a crowd going, you're going to put plainclothes agents there. Were they agitators? Who knows? I'm not going to say yes or no. It does seem like they wanted to agitate something at some points. But, you have RECKS. You have fucking RECKS. Like, yeah, Nate, exactly. How could they fall for it? How could they fall for it? That's exactly what I'm saying. How could they fall for it? How did they fall for it? And again, was Antifa there? I'm not going to say definitive. I am not going to say definitive Antifa was there. Certainly people that look like Antifa. They didn't look like any conservatives I would have known. They look more like fucking Patriot Front losers. If they were, and those aren't conservatives, those are feds. So, I mean, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I don't care what anybody says. It wasn't a good look. But overall, man, it's stupid. It's stupid. And this kind of proves that right there proves, and I hope more people see that Donald Trump did not want any of this. He didn't. All right. What we're going to jump to here, J6, one of the people at J6 was Alex Jones, and he was against it. He was over there on a microphone after the Trump speech, writing over there saying, hey, don't do this. Don't go in. Don't breach. Alex Jones has been run through the ringer. Now, I admit I am not a huge Alex Jones guy. Never have been. InfoWars, it was always on the peripherals. I always thought Alex Jones was fucking crazy. He's been right about a lot. I'll give him that. I always thought he was nuts. I see him everywhere now. So many more places. He's being accepted into more conservative circles. God, him and Glenn made up, which is insane because he called for the death of Glenn at one point, I think. So it's crazy. It's crazy. But what's going on with Alex Jones now is one of the worst things I've ever seen. The whole Sandy Hook thing, he was wrong for saying it. He's admitted it over and over and over that he was wrong and that he did not mean to wish any harm. But then they sued him. And it's activists that sued him more than the families. The families don't want any of this. They don't want this attention. The activists that are in law are going after Alex Jones. And they're going after him in the worst way. They already said he has to pay incredibly ridiculous amounts of money. The GDP of France or something, they wanted like fucking $3 trillion or something stupid. But he has to pay a ridiculous amount of money. And a judge has allowed all of InfoWars stuff to be sold. And they're allowing, they want to go after his social media handles and continue to garnish it. And it's awful. It is. But I think us in this type of space need to work our asses off to say we stand with Alex Jones. And we need to say, this is another thing we need to say all the time, that we stand with Alex Jones. He is someone who has been a big part of independent media before independent media was even a real thing. And he's fought the man every single step of the way because they have been trying to get this guy out of there for years. They have been trying to grill and get Alex Jones out of there for years. And now they have the chance. And, Nate, like you said, coverage of Sandy Hook was beyond minuscule. You're completely correct on InfoWars. But they're going to continue to go after him. Anytime he makes money, they're going to go after him. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we stand by him. And Alex has an open invitation to always come on this show. And I don't make any fucking money, okay? I don't make any money doing this right now. Working on it. Sure as hell working on it. But Alex Jones, as he starts to get more silence, that they try to silence him, I feel like we all need to, in this space, need to sit there and always have a place for Alex Jones to come on and talk. Because his voice is obviously one that people want to hear. People want to hear Alex Jones. He has a ton of fans, millions of people that follow him. And it's absolutely wrong to just say, bye. We don't like you. So we're going to use lawfare to get rid of you. And there's guys like Nick Fuentes. I think Nick Fuentes is a fucking loser. I don't like Nick Fuentes. I'm not a Groypers guy at all. But Nick Fuentes should be allowed to say whatever the hell he wants. He should be allowed to say if it's heinous, if you hate it. He should be allowed to say what he wants. And Nick Fuentes is one. They're going to come after Nick Fuentes. If they could do this to Alex Jones, then they're absolutely going to try to do this to Nick Fuentes and people like him. Because, again, he has a lot of influence and he goes against a lot of what they want. So it's going to come for him. And it's important that we stand up for these people. Now, I'm at the point where if it's leftist, I'm not standing up for leftists. They can go fuck themselves. If leftists are getting come after because they, they want to take away everything. They want to take away our speech. They don't agree. They don't want free speech. A leftist, if they get deleted and not deleted, but if they get canceled, fuck them. But when it comes to people like Alex Jones, like Nick Fuentes, yes, I agree, Nate. Anything but a debate. He's hilarious in debates, though, Nate. He just yells over everyone. And Nick Fuentes does suck. I agree with you. But it's important to fight for those people to have voices. And again, Alex is always welcome. Alex, you're probably never going to hear this. If you do, you're welcome to jump on this show, even as you're facing your battles, just to get your voice out there. If you want another outlet, and I know you have plenty of friends, you have plenty of people that will host you and bring you on. You don't have to come on our show, but just to show solidarity that what they're doing to Alex Jones is wrong. And he is always welcome to jump on this show. If he's ever fully canceled, like obviously they're going to end InfoWars. InfoWars is done. InfoWars has been around. God, those stickers are famous. They're everywhere. They're still everywhere to this day. But Alex Jones is always welcome to come on the show and to talk and to be and to have his voice heard and to talk about his conspiracies, because the guy has gone to places. He's been right about a ton of conspiracies. So, Alex Jones knows a shit ton of stuff. Some of it's crazy, some of it isn't. But like he said all the time, he just reads the news. All Alex Jones does is read the news. And he just regurgitates what he sees most of the time. Sometimes he's crazy. He's going off his rocker. We all opine at times. But that's Alex Jones there. So speaking of somebody who, something which is kind of explosive. Let's say, Nate, what did you hate? You hated him and Glenn Greenwald versus Krasenstein and Kumagram when Greenwald could have bodied all three of them. Greenwald could have. He was yelling over a lot of people, and that's what he does. It's crazy because Alex is a smart guy. Alex just really gets himself going. When Alex gets going, there's no stopping him. He is a fucking freight train. When he just goes, and they're doing this, and they're doing that. Like, he just goes. It's just, you got to just get the fuck out of Alex Jones's way. So yeah, but overall, yeah, I mean, we just need to keep hearing his voice. Whether you agree with it or not, he's someone that should be allowed to be heard. So we're going to transition because Alex Jones is explosive and you could say nuclear at times. Haha. We're going to go on to this story because it's something that if it was anybody but Microsoft or any of those powers, I'd probably agree. But 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania is reopening and they are going to start selling their power off to Microsoft. So let's bring this up here because this is a big deal. Because for the longest time, we have been told that the greatest source of energy that we need to do is our renewables. And those renewables are solar. And those renewables are wind and solar. And that nuclear is just too volatile. It's too dangerous. We can't have nuclear. It's bad for the environment. Why would we allow that? And of all places, 3 Mile Island, which right over here, this worst nuclear disaster in the United States. Now, a worst nuclear disaster, I don't think anybody died in 3 Mile Island. I'm not going to lie. I don't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody died at 3 Mile Island. But it was a bad meltdown. But I don't think anybody actually passed away from it. Correct me. I might be wrong. But it's reopening. But it's only reopening to power Microsoft. Because they want to power their AI. Now, wait a minute. Wait a good fucking minute here. Why go nuclear? If solar and wind, which you know Microsoft is already using a bunch of solar and wind. If solar and wind is as good as they say, why go nuclear? I know why. Because nuclear is clean. Nuclear is powerful. Nuclear is the best source of energy that we have right now. And it's not close. And it's the safest. By a long shot, the safest. We have nuclear plants going all over the country still. You don't hear about meltdowns all the time. They're rare. They're rare, and most of the time they will be contained. We only hear about the bad ones, like everyone talks about Chernobyl. Chernobyl was Soviet-level technology, and it was a whole bunch of people that didn't want to get their heads fucking cut off and admit they made a mistake in Soviet Russia. And they allowed that to happen. And then when it comes to, what was that, off Japan? There was a fucking tsunami or something, like or an earthquake, like that happens. These things happen. They happen with regular plants. They happen with gas plants, steam plants. It goes on. But we are shutting out our cleanest form of energy. But 3 Mile Island is bought and being opened just to power Microsoft. Now we could look at this. It could technically be a win, right? Because if Microsoft is successful and they power it and they're powering their AI, it could be looked at as, hey, it's working. It's working really well. Why don't we start to bring this back out, right? Why don't we start to use this with the populace? Which is smart because I was in construction before this and we just closed down in New York here, Indian Point. That's what I'm pretty close to. Indian Point powered, a few million people. And they have put up 2 massive steam plants that we were a part of building, and they're not even covering a third of what Indian Point did. Because nuclear is just so much better in so many ways. I have a fossil future right back here. Alex Epstein. He talks about how we need to continue to use fossil fuels, but he also was a big proponent of nuclear. And Alex Epstein's no conservative. Alex Epstein's just a guy that understands energy. So it's always funny when these big leftist organizations like a Microsoft, right, does something like this because it's bullshit that they have been touting for so long. And let's see, and this is CNN writing this right here. Clean energy advocates and businesses alike are looking towards nuclear energy as a source of zero carbon power that is a reliable baseload source. A big pro is that nuclear is able to stay on at times of the day and night, unlike wind and solar. This fucking paragraph right here is the sole reason why we should ditch the reusable bullshit. Right there. That paragraph alone just disproves all their nonsense about how dangerous and how terrible nuclear is. Businesses are looking towards this. If it's good for businesses, why is it not good for the populace? You want to know why? Because they don't want us to be able to thrive. They want themselves to thrive. They only want their companies that work through public-private partnerships, because Microsoft is as much a part of the government as anybody else right now. They're in that public-private partnership area. So, of course, they're going to get the benefits. Of course, they're going to get the benefits. But it's hilarious that they're able to admit something like this out in the open. But then if one of us, if, on the right or something, or just someone that's base as fuck, just sits there and starts saying like, hey, nuclear is better than your reusable bullshit, the friggin' clucking ducks in the leftist party is going to go, oh, you just want to destroy the planet. Nuclear is so dangerous. Go read your own fucking publications in CNN. They're admitting that nuclear is a better option than your reusable bullshit. It's crazy. It's crazy that, they admit these types of things. So, it's hard. It's hard. It is hard to jive both of these things. I just wanted to touch on that be on the lookout. And maybe actually, if you're smart, if you want to play stocks, go buy some uranium. See where, if 3 Mile Island, if they're getting their uranium from somewhere, maybe just grab go get some uranium. Who knows? Maybe that'll help out. Maybe that'll give you some good money. But I am not a trader, so do not take stock advice from me. I was just a possible suggestion. And Nate, small modular looks super promising. It does. The small modular does look promising. But here's the thing, Nate. I was reading something that they want to start to bring the small modulars over to places like Africa and stuff, which struggle to get energy because of Western nations say that if they develop, they're going to kill people, right? Because that's honestly the only reason Africa and places like the Middle East aren't fully developed. Middle East is corruption, right? A lot of it. But places like Africa, it's because the West and our like EPA standards are fucking saying like, hey, we can't allow these nations to build up, because then it's going to make pollution terrible. We're going to kill ourselves. So those nations are being held down because the West, bottom line. And that's not even a secret. But yeah, we need to go more nuclear. They're getting, we're probably making like 20, 25 years away from fission, and maybe closer, because if AI continues to develop at the level that it's developing, there might be ways where AI can help us get closer to getting fission as an actual possibility. Our military uses nuclear rods in our submarines. They don't have to be replaced for 3 years. If they're going to use them in war, they're not going to blow up like people think. Just because something happens, it doesn't become a bomb. There needs to be specific things that go on in order for nuclear stuff to be a bomb. So, we could be doing so much better when it comes to nuclear. But again, we're so many people fall into the bullshit. And they don't want to read things like that from their own fucking publications. But I digress there. All right. What's next down our run sheet? Let's keep talking about the climate. Let's keep talking about the crazies. Because there was an article, and this article I found a little while ago. So this one's a little bit late. This one was from the 15th. So yeah, well over a week ago. But I thought it was cool. And it was before I was doing all these things. But it's from the Epic Times. And let's bring it up. Because it is another thing that shows that the climate crazies are fucking crazy. Now, this is just one article, so I'm not going to blow it out of proportion and be like, hey, we're right, because that's what they do, right? But sunlight and clouds, not CO2, drive Earth's climate, new study finds. Now, it's two researchers, only two. They did it, but they are researchers. They are, people that do this in their field. And there's a report that's out there. You can go find this, and you can click on it if you want when you get there. But what they did, Roy Spencer, John Christie, University of Alabama, Huntsville, they tracked the number of clouds that allow the sunlight. Now, they said that this whole entire process, let me see, what is this process called? I think it's like Albea or something like that. Let me see if I can find it. The albedo. It's the albedo effect. And it's basically the effect of the coverage of the clouds and the amount of sunlight allowed in. That affects how hot we are. That that giant ball of hot gas in space has a big determining factor for if we're hotter or colder. Color me surprised. I'd imagine if we sat there and we asked kids, what do you think would control temperature for the long term in the earth? What would have the biggest effect on if it's hot or cold? They would tell you the sun. Because kids aren't stupid. People are stupid. Kids are not stupid. So what they say that it is incorrect. The greenhouse theory is incorrect because sunlight cannot bounce off of CO2. It is clear. And that the greenhouse emissions, the balance of it, does not have as much of an effect. And that's the general theory. I don't want to go into the nitty gritty. I read most of this article. I think I read the whole thing, actually. And like I said, there is the report. If you want to go, you could always message me and I'll guide you towards the Epoch Times article. But in the end, it is two scientists that their general thesis and their general hypothesis is clouds and sun affect the climate. And they have trajectories. They've tracked things and things like that. They've gotten that information. But clouds and sun affect our climate, not clear gases. I mean, I don't object to that. That seems logical. There are a lot more things that seem logical than CO2, but that's that. So again, I didn't want to go crazy into that. There's a lot of sciencey stuff and things like that. And maybe if you want, like I said, if anyone wants, they can message me and I can send them that and things, and we could figure out a way to get you that Epoch Times article, or even I'll pull up the report and I could send that to you if you want to look at that. But let's see. I don't want to go too crazy because I'm what are we at? An hour and 9 right now, almost an hour and 10. I think I'm almost done here, guys. We'll go over a few more things, and that'll probably be it. I was going to talk about Greta Thunberg. I don't know if I give a fuck about Greta Thunberg. We might talk about her tomorrow because I plan on coming back tomorrow. I plan on coming back tomorrow, Sunday. You guys will see me a whole lot if you want to. If not, you don't have to watch, but I'll be here. But I want to go on to our little second headline, I guess, up there outside of Milei wrecking the UN. Stone Cold Steve Austin doesn't believe in CTE, which is fucking hilarious. I'm not going to lie. So let's pull up Wrestling Ops, an article. No, not an article. It's just a piece. Boom. Wrestling Ops. Share. Let's bring it up. Okay. So right in this part right here, Wrestling Ops. Stone Cold Steve Austin states that he does not believe in CTE. Here's Stone Cold's quote, and this is from episode 6 of Mr. McMahon. So if you want to see Stone Cold telling CTE to fuck off, go watch a Mr. McMahon docuseries on Netflix. I do plan on watching that one at some point. It looked interesting because wrestling's fun. I don't care what anyone says, but it says, I worked for a long time. I got dropped on my head one time and I got a concussion there. But other than that, I can't remember having too many concussions in a business of pro wrestling. And my take on that has always been, if you were just wrestling and you got a bunch of concussions, you probably did something wrong. I'm not a CTE guy. I just don't believe in it. So anyone have any opinions on believing in, CTE? Because you're scrolling down here, Air Gold. CTE is a scientific fact. It's not Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy that he can choose to believe in. Corey, that's a CTE talk, and all the unprotected chair shots to the head and everything. So many athletes suffer from CTE after getting concussions that they never knew they had. Got to take head and neck injuries seriously. Chris Benoit has entered the chat. I fucking love people. But what's everyone's opinion here? Anyone in the chat, what's your opinion on CTEs? CTE real? Again, that's the bottom line. You're correct. So, Nate, what do you think? Is CTE real? So, I think CTE is real. I think it's overblown. I think we make too big of a deal of it. I don't think every person that's ever played football is going to get CTE. I played football. I got fucking rocked a few times. So, I was always a smaller guy. I don't believe I'm going to get CTE. And if I do, I knew what I was doing. That's my biggest crux with all this. Whether CTE is real or not, it is, right? CTE is real. It's provable. But bottom line is, knew what I was getting into. Everyone that plays football does. From a young age, maybe my coaches were better. I don't know, but they told me concussions are bad. You could fuck your brain up permanently if you get concussions. You get too many of them, you got to stop. That's really it. The neck injuries are serious. Tackle with your head up. Put your head to the ball, like proper form. Lead with your shoulder. I probably had multiple concussions. I know I had a few. Absolutely, I had a few because I was small. I was small. I was a psycho. I'd run into the biggest guys as fast as I can, as hard as I can. But I think we overblow CTE, and I think Stone Cold. He'll come out and he'll probably clear it up. But it kind of seems, and again, I'm talking for him. Maybe he really doesn't believe in CTE. Maybe he just thinks it's fucking stupid. But I think what he's saying is that he doesn't believe that just because you get a concussion, you're bound to get CTE. And like he said, if you're getting a ton of concussions in wrestling, you're doing something wrong, because people were even saying like, hey, that one person said, like, the unprotected chair shots. These people know what they're doing. They know how to hit people with the chair. They know how to fall. They learn this. They work their asses off to learn how to wrestle, because there's an art form to wrestling. Your goal is to put on a show, but your goal is also to keep yourself and your person that you're wrestling with safe. You guys want to put on a performance and you want to do it safely. So they're all trying to work together to be as safe as possible. So I think more or less what Stone Cold's probably trying to say there, it's not that he doesn't necessarily believe that CTE is a scientific thing. I just think that he believes that CTE is something that is not as prevalent as people make it out to be. And I'm with him on that. I think CTE is not, I think the movie Concussion made it a bigger fucking deal than it is. But overall, I think that, people are going to get it. People are not going to get it. It's both. Mick Foley isn't a vegetable. You said Mick. Yeah, Mick Foley's not a vegetable. Mick Foley was a master at his craft. The man knew what he was doing. He was obviously crazy, and he probably took a lot more bumps and bruises than he thought he was going to. But he knew how to fall. He knew how to do these types of things. And he took a lot of chances, but he knew how to do all this type of stuff. And he's awesome for it, man. He's awesome for it. We fucking love Mick Foley. He's the man. So I thought that was interesting. David brought it up to me yesterday after the show. He saw it when he was just going. He's like, Stone Cold doesn't believe in CTE. I was like, it's fucking awesome. We got to get that on the run sheet. All right. So let's see. We'll talk about Greta probably tomorrow, and I'll save that topic there. The last thing I want to touch on, the great Maggie Smith. She was watching Professor McGonagall in Harry Potter, has passed away, 89 years old. It's super sad. 89 years. She lived a long time, but she was fantastic. She was also in Downton Abbey and things like that. But, my generation is going to know her for being Professor McGonagall and bringing that character to life. And as much as I think Hollywood needs to be burnt to the fucking ground because it's all evil, there are some fantastic actors and actresses out there, and Patti Smith was one of them. It was just, it's sad. 89 years, she lived a good life, right? 89 years, damn, I fucking wish I'll get to 89. I hope I get to 89. Hope the CTE doesn't claim me before I get to 89. But overall, 89 years old, rest in peace, Maggie Smith, and the rest of your family and things like that. Like, prayers up for all you guys, and thank you. Thank you for, I love Harry Potter. I read all the books. I love all the movies. I own every single movie. She was one of the people that they really nailed in terms of casting. And obviously she was a fan. And she played Professor McGonagall super well. And her performance and a lot of the performances of those in the movies are going to put a ton of pressure on the new Harry Potter. That's coming out. They're putting on a new show that's going to basically cover all the same things as the books. Pretty sure J.K. Rowling's going to be involved. That rampant transphobe, but I think she's involved in everything. So it's going to be interesting to see the casting choices because, like I said, McGonagall's she'll be hard to replace. She was great, and she brought it. And I'm just, there's a lot to replace there because Alan Rickman's not coming back as Snape and things like that. So they have a lot to replace. But Maggie Smith, thank you for what you did. It was amazing, and rest in peace. So Sly Stallone isn't evil. God, I hope Sly Stallone's not fucking evil. That would break my heart, man. if we find out that Sly Stallone was at like some fucking sex parties, I'd be so sad. That would hurt. I mean, consenting sex parties. Sly Stallone's fucking people and doing whatever he wants. I don't care. But I mean, like the sex parties, like going to Love Island or going to Epstein Island. Like if we find that out about Sly, tear, it would fall. So hopefully he's not evil. And update, Rutgers just got a touchdown. So fuck Washington. Anyway, that's how we're going to end here. We're going to jump out of here. I appreciate everyone for watching. Nate, always appreciate you for being involved. You're the man. Always love when you come hang out. If you're here every night, that'll be dope. But we'll be back. David might be back with me tomorrow. Might not. Yeah, we'll find out. If not, I'll be here. I'll have things to talk about. And like I said, we got a little bit over an hour here today, and I appreciate everyone for hanging with us and watching. And I'll be back. So everyone, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.